Hey guys, so I wanted to get on here today and just kind of do a little bit of a health update. Sometimes I do them more or less often depending on how much things are changing. And things are definitely changing. We're in spring now. I feel the winter effects fading away slowly. It's weird because it overlaps with getting out of supermorbid obesity because it happened like towards the end of winter. And so I'm dealing with a lot of these, I'm dealing with a lot of changes. And most of which are just becoming less intense. So I still have serotonin hands. I still have slight tingles here or there. I still have the rosy cheeks. I still have some insomnia, some twitches, right? Like I get twitchy. My eye has been twitching all day today. So I still have a lot of those different issues. Jeez. Still slight agitation, as you can see. But it's a lot less. I don't know how to describe it, but even if you guys remember from last year, my armpit rash, it's still there, but it's so much less intense. So it's like all these weird serotonin, obesity related things, they have cut in half in terms of intensity. They're still there, but they're a lot better. And I was actually talking to my mom the last couple weeks, and she was just like, she's like, things never get better and blah, blah, blah. She's like, you're just always complaining about the same things and da, 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 da. And I just told her, I said, it's not true. I was like, you just don't remember how bad it was a year ago. Like, I do. I actually have the tapes. I have the receipts, right? Like, I can watch my health updates from a year ago. I remember how I felt. I remember what it was like versus how it is today. And it's like, no, everything is much less intense. Rather than feeling soul-crushingly depressed, I feel sad sometimes. Rather than massive migraines all the time, it's like I did just have a migraine recently post-gym, but it's still so much less often than it used to be. And all these different things, they're happening less often. Like my hypoventilation, it's downgraded into an asthma, which is totally different because in terms of intensity. And I think what's really difficult about this is just trying to readjust back to the gym, because that's the thing too that I think a lot of people may not understand. I have to, and most people do have to, you have to do on-ramp and off-ramp within long-term weight loss. I can't say I'm super morbidly obese, I'm not, but I was very recently. And it's been a long journey already. And so there are times and phases where you have to do less or do more because it's easier to do it or it's less easy to do it. And so in the winter, I have to usually stop going to the gym because, as you guys have seen, over the winter, I was still suffering a lot. I still had a lot of issues this past winter. It was pretty rough, but at the end of the day, it was still better than it was a year ago because I could stay in a deficit the vast majority of the winter. And I had so much success in terms of still losing weight in the winter, although of course it was slower, but still losing weight, getting right back to where I was in October and beyond. These are very, very huge success factors for me in terms of the seasonal aspect. And part of that is I can't go to the gym anymore because it's too difficult to go in the winter. My energy is too low. I have to work a lot still. I'm still active. I'm active year round. But in terms of lifting weights and stuff, it's just impossible. So what happened recently is obviously the spring is coming up. Things are changing. My body can tell, right? We just had the equinox pass. But even before that, I was getting better. I was getting out of the winter phase, and I was really struggling with my restlessness. And luckily, I have a friend who has a lot of experience with different psych meds and different things like that, and the effects of different hormones when they're higher or lower. And we were talking about it together, and we were doing some research, and it turns out that in obese individuals, it's hot. I don't know, the sweater is kind of hot. In obese individuals, dopamine is lower. And a lot of times, low dopamine can lead to like depression symptoms. It can lead to low motivation, ADHD symptoms. It can lead to a lot of these different feelings. But what I was noticing a lot was restlessness, especially in full body restlessness, honestly. Like, it was all over. It's like my arms, my legs, my back, like, I don't know, just craziness, right? Like, just, like this really, really gross feeling, and constantly, like, just like, like you just have that feeling all the time. And so I was talking to her about it, and she was like, yeah, like, that used to happen in terms of when I was taking like a dopamine blocker. And I was like, okay. So I think what's been happening is my serotonin is coming down, clearly. Like, all of my serotonin symptoms are improving, including like social anxiety, the social status aspect, the fear of my status changing. These are like very high serotonin things. Like, I had a little bit of audience capture last year. I had fears of like what I would do and say, and like what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate, like this feeling of super appropriateness and the need to be appropriate all the time. These are all very high serotonin feelings, and nausea and these kinds of things that I also felt, because again, it's not just psychological. Like, everything I talk about in this series of videos is also physically rooted. Like, there are physical symptoms that go along with what I'm saying every time, but psychologically as well. Like, that has improved. I don't care about being a bitch online, or like, I just don't care to try to cover up how I feel about stuff. I just don't care, honestly. And that's just a good sign. It means that I'm getting out of this high serotonin. But I think what was happening is I have low dopamine, essentially. So it's kind of like an issue that's on the opposite side, because I found myself in March, there are a lot of times when I wanted to eat because I was bored, not because I was hungry, but because I was bored. And I didn't. It only happened twice. Because usually I'll eat more because I'm like really hungry, or I'm like really exhausted, right? Or I need energy. Like, there's just certain times when you have to eat more when you're doing a long-term deficit, especially since I'm getting towards, this is month 3 of being in a deficit. Like, even in December, I was a little bit of the month because I couldn't stay above that. But, since January, I've been counting. So it's like we're getting into that 3rd month, we're getting to like 12 weeks here. And when you get towards that zone, there are certain times when you do have to eat more. Just certain days you just can't handle the deficit, or your body is just like, fuck this, essentially. And so I was like, okay, like, so I had a couple days like that in February. I've had some days like that in March. But this was different. This is like, I wanted to feel something, or I was so incredibly bored that I wanted to eat just for a physical sensation. And I didn't do it because, like I said, I'm like, no, but I just kept thinking about, like, damn, like, this is such an issue, like, boredom. Because chemical boredom, especially with like low dopamine due to obesity, it's like, what a freaking self-fulfilling prophecy, or what a like self-sustaining problem. Because I can guarantee you, like, there are so many times in my life when I had this same feeling, especially because I feel a little similarly to how I felt in high school, or how I felt in 2020, or how I felt at these other times where I weighed this much, where I weighed as much as I do now. And the hormones are kind of similar because it's a similar level of obesity. And I, so many times, was just so bored, I would eat out of boredom. And I know a lot of people talk about that, but there is like a physical basis for that boredom. And so I was just like, I don't know what to do, because like I went back to eating sugar. Like, I was fiending for dopamine, okay? Like, especially in March, like really, really bad. I went back to eating sugar. I went back to schmorn. Kind of scarring to say, but I just want that to be known. And, you know, some of my friends judged me because I have a lot of friends that don't, I'll just say it, that don't use porn. And so they're like, oh, that's a great excuse. But it's like, I am literally like so restless that I'm going nuts. It's like, I literally, like, better that than like drugs, okay? Like, better that than bath salts, okay? I don't care about saying this because this isn't monetized, so it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, like, it's better to do that. I actually had one friend jokingly suggest that. But I was that fiending for dopamine, okay, like badly. I don't know, you know, I had muscle lockups, like just terrible feelings of low dopamine, like going nuts, okay, like it driving me insane. And so one day I was like, okay, let me Google this. And I went on to search, you know, does lifting weights increase dopamine? And it does. And the reason it does, it's because of the actual repetitive motion. So it's funny because a lot of people complain about lifting weights, but it's actually like the repetitive motion of lifting the weights that boosts dopamine, and over time creates a more dopaminergic brain, or an environment in your brain that sustains higher levels of dopamine, which I think is incredibly important for people who are obese, because we naturally have lower dopamine because of the obesity. And so I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to the gym. Like, clearly I'm not dying enough in the winter. Like, clearly I'm not dead, because I'm restless and I'm going insane. I'm dying of boredom. I'm dying of restlessness and all this stuff. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to the gym. So I went back to the gym, and it sucked. Okay, like, but the restlessness started to go away really quickly. Like, after the first time I went, it definitely reduced. The second time I went, it had come back already. I did it again. It reduced again. And I think I went one other time. I think I've been 3 times now. Wait, let me think. Yeah, I've been 3 times. So third time I went, I was okay, and that was a couple days ago. And I had like a migraine yesterday, which sucked. I was like, damn, I just said I wasn't getting them. But I got a migraine. And then overall, like, I noticed really just in the second week of going back to the gym, like, the restlessness is gone entirely. I don't feel anywhere near as bored. And I've actually been able to take some steps down from sugar and porn, schmorn. I don't use it as much. Because it was kind of getting a little bit on the higher end of my use. I don't have to get like all specific, but I'm just saying in general, it's like, you know, I don't have like a hard line on it. I know a lot of people are really, really hardcore about it either way. Like, they're either like, oh my gosh, I love it and it's the best thing ever and I need to use it for 10 hours a day. Or they're like, it's the worst thing in the whole world and it's destroying you and it's going to turn you into a demon on the side of the road. I don't really believe either one of those. I think that it's like, it's just important to like regulate and like not go insane with it. Like, I've had times where I've used it a ton and I felt horrible. 2020 comes to mind. It was horrible. And then I've had times where I don't use it at all, and it's like, it's better to not, you know. But it's like, when you're dealing with this other stuff and like low dopamine and all this stuff, it's like, I have to try my best to stay on the diet, or I have to try my best to stay in a deficit. And so sometimes it's like, you got to make a deal with the devil to deal with the other devil that's even worse. Like, that's kind of how it is a lot when it comes to this stuff. I think, you know, weight loss, in a lot of ways, it's such a gray area. And I think a lot of people try to be so black and white, and it's like, black and white isn't going to get you to the end. Like, black and white didn't get me out of the last bit of SMO, you know? It was making a compromise here or there, or doing this because I needed to do that, and da-da-da-da, right? Where I think people get caught up in it is that they don't pursue anything else. So it's like, they may have this dopamine issue, like, or they may have other issues that is leading them to utilize that. I don't know if my phone's dying, but it's freaking me out. Yeah, I'll just leave it. Whatever. I guess I have to wrap it up. I don't know if people, if they use that to, like, they'll just use porn and then that's all. And like, there's nothing else that they do. And that's the only thing that they do. And they don't do anything else to mitigate the issue. Like, I was not doing that. I was eating sugar, like candy, lots of Peeps. I was using the porn. And then I started going to lift weights too, because I was getting better because the winter was waning. I was getting out of SMO and I was getting better. And so I went to lift the weights, and I've done it like only 2 weeks or so. And already I'm stepping off of the sugar more. Like, it's not cut completely. And my usage of that is going down as well, because I don't need it as much. And then I find like my appetite is getting lower again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, because we're getting into spring. So it's like, whoa. Like, yesterday, the thought of eating candy actually disgusted me. And it's like, whoa. So I think too, like, I cannot stress the importance of lifting weights. I think it's very important. If it's possible for you to do it and you're feeling well enough to be like restless or bored, then you need to go. Like, stat. You need to figure out a way to go. Like, do your best to go to lift weights, because it really helped me very quickly. And like I said, I don't have to rely on the other stuff as much, and that makes me feel better too, because there are issues with both sugar and porn, because like, from a male perspective, porn it kind of reduces your willpower a little bit. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, your willpower goes down just a touch. And with the sugar, I don't think there's anything wrong with sugar, but if you're in a deficit and you're eating a lot of sugar, it means you're not eating a lot of other nutrition. So it can be risky, because you can have a moment like I did in November where I was just starving for nutrition because I was relying too much on sugar within a deficit. So it's risky. It's like, they're good like emergency things, or, you know, like, I don't know, like last year using porn during like the autumn and late summer, it helped me feel a little less restless and stuff, because I was still feeling that way last year, even though I was going to the gym and everything. So just using it like once a week or something, maybe twice a week, it really helped. But it was still like a huge reduction, because I used to be more so addicted to it. But yeah, anyways, the point is, gray areas are a thing. You have to navigate it however you are. And for me, I found like I'm having these dopamine issues, and lifting weights is a natural way to fix it, and it has worked. I think my body feels much more stimulated going to the gym, and so I just feel better. I don't feel as depressed. I don't feel restless at all anymore. And obviously it helps with the weight loss and everything like that, but I still I've struggled a little bit with the deficit going back to the gym. It's like there's kind of a rebalancing phase, and I blow up a lot when I go back to the gym, and I stay bloated for like a few weeks or like a couple weeks or something, you know, because it's really like intense for the body, and it just causes a lot of swelling. And that's the thing too, is a lot of people, they go to the gym and they think that they're going to start losing weight, and it's like, if you're obese, like, you might gain weight because it causes you to bloat. And I've definitely had that, especially given the context of, you know, it's still winter. I just barely got out of SMO, right? It's like, I'm not in like this rock solid, like my body is a castle kind of state. I'm in like a, whoa, we barely stopped from burning down. You know, the smoke is still rising from the singed remains of the castle. Like, that's more of where I'm at. It's not on fire anymore, but it's like, damn, the smoke is still rising. It's still hot, you know? So yeah, I'm more prone to swelling, definitely. But I'm building muscle really easily. Like, I'm getting my strength back really quickly, which is great. And yeah, overall, like, definitely greener days, greener grass ahead. I don't know, bluer skies. Like, I'm a little nervous, but also kind of excited, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, this adherence, it's like shooting up. Like, I'm really like, I want to just stick to my deficit now, blah, 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 blah. And it's like getting really, really, really strict, like within my brain. And I feel like that regulatory system returning very strongly. But it's good because I don't have to rely on willpower so much. My brain does it for me. And that's why you got to take care of your hormones. It's because of adherence. It's adherence. That is everything in terms of losing weight. It doesn't matter how much calories in, calories out matters if you can't stick to it. I think a lot of people never acknowledge that, and it's very frustrating. But yeah, I acknowledge it, and damn, I am totally, like, my adherence is getting a lot stronger because the winter's ending. So we're entering weight loss season. I'm kind of excited for this year's weight loss season. Weight loss season is from April to November, and we're almost there. So we'll see what comes next. I will talk to you guys again soon, or whenever something changes. But I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.